Hello everybody, this is Metal on a Budget, and today we are trying out 3 different modeling amps. Now I know you might see the spider in the corner, but we are not going to demonstrate that one today. We will demonstrate that one against this one. Tone quality wise, we are not using any pedals. It is just the straight modeling amps and what they can do. We'll go through a couple different tones. The clean channels aren't super important. They're all really good, clean. But we'll go into probably not the rhythm channels, but more of like a lead channel for high gain, because that's what Metal on a Budget's all about, is high gain amps. Sorry for being off camera. My studio is obviously full of gear, and obviously I want to be able to demonstrate this gear off to you. So we're going to do it the best I can. And we're going to start off with the Crate GXL. And it's not really which one's better, but if you think one sounds better than the other, you just let me know in the comments down below. And let's go ahead and get it started. So here's clean channel. So it's super loud. Okay, let's go ahead and jump to the solo channel, which I have the foot switch for this. I'm just going to use the button. See if we can. Here we go. Alright, so there you go. A little bit of the Crate GXL. Let's go ahead and go over to the PV and see what a clean channel can do. Well, I guess we can, let's go ahead and do some effects. These are some of the effects that come stock on the amp. So when it comes to the delay and reverb, I'm going to have to give it to the Crate GXL when it comes to the quality of the sound, for sure. This one's definitely good, and that one's really good too, but it seems like the more I turn it up, the worse it sounds. That is a 112. This is a 212 combo here. So now that you've heard a little bit of that, we'll go ahead and jump over, because this one does have a standby mode. So we're in the luck. Okay. So here is the clean channel. And this one's going to sound a little more modern because it does have built-in effects. There's going to be a tube screamer, the built-in tube screamer on the 6505 channel. The beauty about this amp is I've compared it to my actual 6505 that's in the shop, and at bedroom volumes, it definitely sounds the exact same. You can kind of set this up to make it sound like the actual 6505. So that's a good thing. You can make this sound like a decent 6505 112 60 watt head, or 30 watt. Yeah, 30 watt head, and still get a 6505 tone. So let's go ahead and jump to that. And like I said, we're not really comparing these amps on which one's better. It's really on what's suited best for you. I personally think the most versatile, and I wouldn't say, they all seem to be pretty reliable, but it would have to be this one because of the size, the weight, and the sound. This one I use for shows. This one I would not use for shows unless it's like a really small venue, or I know that there's going to be a PA there where I can mic it up. So that one really it's never been used for shows. This one and this one have definitely been used for shows. This went through 3 or 4, maybe 5 shows. This one went through its first show the other day, and I was really impressed with these two amps, and I really could not say anything. The Spider, I know I'm not using it in the video today because it's just not going to work for the video. It has been used for shows as well. I used a Spider 3 in the past for shows. They're really good amps. You just got to really learn what's going to sound good, and you really got to learn how to use it, and learn how to use it with pedals. So I use these two with pedals, so we know that. Okay, so the reason why I say this one's more modern is it does have the 6505 along with other, XXL and other amp models like that. But this one has, decent effects. If it is kind of hard to get them right, but once you do, they're really cool, especially for a practice amp at home. If you're not looking to gig or anything, this is going to be your dude. If you're looking to look awesome and not gig, but still have a quiet amp that can gig, this one's really cool to look at. But this one, they're all just great. I mean, they all sound great. So let's go ahead and try the 6505 out and see what happens. Okay, so my first impressions off the rip definitely sounds more modern, stock. Very impressive sounding, very full sounding. Really just, it has a huge sound compared to this stock. I guess I could turn it up, but this amp is not a good... It does work great as like an amp that that's a bedroom practice amp, but there's not much room to turn up. Like in between there and there, it's a huge volume difference. So it is kind of hard to get a good tone at lower volumes with this one, to where the 30 watt really excels at these lower level medium volumes. And the bass response is killer. I don't know if it's because it's on the stand, but it sounds really meaty, has a really good punch to it, and super impressed by how that sounds. It sounds really modern. And let's just go ahead and do a lead, and let me, go ahead and tell me which one you think sounds the best so far. I personally think this one stock sounds better than this one. And this is actually one of my, I actually like this amp more than that amp, but stock without any pedals, I'm gonna go for this one off the rip because it's cheap. It's a hair cheaper, not a whole lot, but it is cheaper, and it has all kinds of super cool effects in it, like the tube screamer. So it really gives it that real whole, lots of saturation metal. Now let's go over to the lead channel real quick, do a little bit of lead stuff. If you're wondering the signal chain, it is a Dean Avalanche super cheap guitar with a Seymour Duncan Blackout mod. So this pickup does not work at all whatsoever. This one's the only one running, and that's all I'm using. So let's rock and roll. So the lead channel is a little bit harder to control when it comes to the distortion and everything, because this has a little bit less distortion stock, but it's still a killer amp. This amp is definitely, for practice settings, that is taking the cake so far. That is a really cool amp. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump to the Marshall. So now let's turn that off just in case. And let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. Okay, so looks like we're on the clean channel. Let's go ahead and turn that master way down. This is a really loud amp. Okay, very loud amp. Okay, there's a little distortion in there. That's okay. I think it's from the pickup, so yeah, it is. It breaks up a little bit on the low end. So there's the clean. Let's go ahead and try this out. Okay, that's pretty cool. But let's turn all that off. I don't want none of that on there. Let's just do the distortion channel the way it do. Okay, so I dropped my pick. So what we have here is a Marshall MG100 HCFX. By itself, tone-wise, just like the Spider, not very impressive off the rip like these two. It's a little muffly. So yeah, a little flimsy when it comes to the stock distortion. Now it's still a little muffled to me. These sound a little more modern than this. This sounds way less modern for the stock tones that we got. So that being said, let's go ahead and throw some effects on there, like some, not that, some delay. There we go. Still learning this amp a little, but it's okay. We got the delay. We need a little bit of reverb. Okay. So what's happening here is that's why I say these sound more modern. This is actually running. It's actually a full stack. Both of these speaker cabs are hooked up. So yeah, where I'm getting at is when I play like a classic solo, like that pentatonic scale with the. So I'll go ahead and give it to this amp when it sound. This one sounds the best with that classic tone. I think that's what it's modeled for, is more of a classic rock tone. This one's modeled towards more of a really high gain tone when it comes to the distortions. Now, this has a lot of cool, clean PV amp models as well. Same with this amp. It has, I think, one clean channel on this one. I think they're all pretty easy to use. I think this one's in the middle when it comes to being vintage to modern tone. So this one be the most modern, this one would be the middle one, and then this one would be, the more vintage tone off the rip. They are all massive sounding. They do great in a mix. This is really loud. I don't give it enough credit, but I also just use it for practice. I'm sure it could hang. I think it would get drowned out by a full band, but I still feel like it could be heard, especially if you had it mic'd up to a PA. It would have no issues. It is a very loud amp. Just the 30 watts is it's kind of a downfall, but it's not when it comes to being a main source of practicing instead of blowing your eardrums out with something like this. These amps are great, but not super necessary for, home practice. They're very good for shows and band practices. So, with that being said, you tell me which amp you thought sounded the best for the tone that you're going for. There's no wrong answers. I talk highly about these two amps, or all these amps really, and I'll tell you what, when you take something like this is a homemade pedal board. I made it out of a drawer, out of like a dresser drawer. It's just like the back piece of a drawer, and I, made it to where it's a pedal board. So if you're running low on money and you got a dresser just sitting outside like I did, break it apart. Maybe you can use some extra pieces. And I've used this for shows, multiple times. So metal on a budget tip number one there. Definitely see what you got around the house. Get some cheap Velcro. I found this at Walmart for like 10, 12 bucks. So what it is these amps, they perform pretty well. They're not bad, but they perform at top notch and they sound the best when you add pedals. So I like to run the Ibanez into the EVH, which gives me a huge volume boost, by the way, and it makes it to where it hangs with any tube amp on stage without issues. And then I use this more or less for the effects. And the way I'll use that is I'll use the clean channel only on each amp. I'll only use the clean channels with no effects or anything, just dry, raw, clean channel. And then I use this for all the tones that I want, like the reverb and the solo channel and stuff like that, your main distortion, and then a push to really give it that modern distortion tone, because I use a lot of 7-strings. So this is a huge help with my tone on a day-to-day basis, and this is why I can back up my non-tube amps, because it makes it sound very tube-like, if not just alike. So with that being said, this video is not sponsored. This is all gear that I've paid for out of pocket, and I just want to demonstrate the power of solid state, because I've been getting a lot of static online about how these amps are junk and they're this and they're that and they're this, and tube amps are the only thing out there. And it's okay to like tube amps or only want to play tube amps, but don't discredit these amps for not sounding good or anything, because there's kids out there that are just starting out. They might have just got a job, they hardly have any money, and they're going to turn away from these amps because someone said they were junk or they sound like crap, when in reality, as long as you get the pedals that you're seeking, you can make these amps sound phenomenal. And funny story is that this amp gets used alongside Kevin's 6505, and with the 5150 pedal, I can make this amp sound identical to a 6505, and the whole band's heard it, and there's no denying it. So, for all you solid state haters out there, I feel sorry for you because you think spending $2,000 is the only way to get a good tone. I'm not really looking for people that are more established in the guitar world. I'm looking for people that are just starting out, that's wanting to find a reliable, good sounding amp without having to save up 4 years to get a tube amp, because as a younger kid in high school, that's harder to get that kind of money. So something like these in the $200 range, I got this one the cheapest, and it's the loudest. I got it for $120. And I got this one for $250, and I got that one for a couple $100 as well. So very cheap, affordable amps that get the job done, and also allow you to start gigging and going out there and letting people experience your music with quality sound. You can judge it all you want, but at the end of the day, you're gonna be impressed by the sound in the mix if you're writing cool songs, or if you doubt a solid state. So yeah, let me know your opinions. In the next video, we will compare this amp and the Spider amp against each other, because like I said, these are all their own thing. They all have their own benefits and things like that. If you don't like the look of a combo amp, this is going to be your dude. You got a good looking Marshall head. It sounds amazing on the clean channel with pedals. You really just can't go wrong. It's reliable. I haven't had any issues so far, knock on the wood. It's been an amazing, all four of these amps have been really amazing to me. And that's the thing, is definitely don't judge something by the cover.